Hello, welcome to Culture and Identity. My name is Jennifer Jopute, and today I am so excited because this is the place whereby you will find a blend of information, entertainment, and today I'm having with me Aggriey Tissa Sabuni, the chairperson of the Keji community worldwide. He's going to talk to us about the Kuku people, and I'm sure by the end of this video, we will all learn something from him. Thank you for always supporting CTN. Let's have it done. Welcome to Culture and Identity. Today I'm so excited to have with me here the chairperson of the Kuku community, Aggriey Tissa Sabuni. And like I said, this is where we learn a lot about our culture. And today we are learning about the Kuku culture. Welcome, Aggriey.
Thank you very much.
We are so glad that you take your time to come and to educate us about the Kuku culture. You can introduce yourself, who you are, and then what you do.
Okay, I'm called Aggriey Tissa Sabuni, a retired government official. Currently, I just hustle.
That's a good word.
I am the chairman of the Keji community worldwide. Keji County is located to the south of Juba town. It borders Uganda, district of Moyo and Yumbe districts of Uganda to the south. To the west, it is bordered by Morobo County. Northwest, Lainya County. North and south, north and northeast, Juba County. In land terms of land area, it is estimated to be 2,000 square kilometers. The population is estimated at 400,000 people. The county is administered through 5 payams. The northern payam is called Ngepo. To the west is Liwolo Payam. Then we have Lire in the middle, Lire Payam, Kangapo 1 and Kangapo 2. That is roughly the location and the identity of Keji County. Actually, there are 2 communities in Keji County. Those occupying Ngepo Payam call themselves Ngepo, and then the others in the 4 Payams of Kangapo 1, Kangapo 2, Lire, and Liwolo call themselves Kuku. But they are basically the same language, same dialect, same culture, same everything. But those in the northern part prefer to be called Ngepo, and that's the way it should be, and that's it. So I am chairman of Keji community, not chairman of Kuku community.
Wow.
The people in Ngepo identify themselves as Ngepo. Those in Lire, Kangapo 1, Kangapo 2, and Liwolo identify themselves as Kuku, but they're basically the same.
Yes.
That's right.
Wow, this is really a good introduction of yourself and the Kuku community in general. What language do the Kuku people speak?
The Kuku people, as well as those who are called Ngepo, they speak Kuku language. The language is the same.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great.
It's part of the bigger Bari language. Yes.
So this is really a good information to know. And what are some of the economical activities done by the Kuku people?
The Kuku people are basically farmers, crop farmers.
Yeah.
They produce varieties of crops, leguminous crops like beans of all types.
Yeah.
The popular one among them is called Brugusu. It grows up to maybe 5 or 6 meters high and produces small beans on the branches and so on. Then you have the normal beans that are also grown all over East Africa, as well as other varieties of leguminous crops that would constitute most of the broth. They grow as well groundnuts, simsim, and a variety of other paste-producing crops. This is supported by varieties of sorghum, popularly known as dura. Then a number of vegetables, fruit trees like mangoes, pawpaws, oranges, both wild and as well as grown. They also keep cattle, small numbers, birds like chickens, ducks, goats, pigs. That would constitute taking care of these things or growing them would constitute the economic activity of the Kajo people.
Yeah. You've mentioned a good number of crops that the Kuku people are cultivating. What is the most favorite food of the Kuku people that when you go everywhere, it's being cooked and eaten in every occasion?
There is the leaves of beans called lopoto. In Juba it's called lubia. That is a vegetable.
Yeah.
This one goes together with the brukusut, that is the beans that grow on a crop that I described earlier on. This is also, every Kuku family must have this type of lubia, and they will try very hard also to make sure that this Koroko lubia is always there.
Yeah.
They are cooked and seasoned with either groundnut paste, simsim paste, or some other kind of paste. Those are the most popular and common dishes in Kajo.
I was about to ask how it's been prepared, but thank God you've already said it, and that's really good to know. You can cook it in any way that you want. Let's go to a little bit of questions about festivals. We have so many festivals, for example, in the Kuku land. What are some of the festivals celebrated among the Kuku community?
Yeah, the most common one would be the happy occasions would be something to do with marriages, the cementing and conclusion of a successfully arranged marriage. That would constitute any occasion for a festival. One would also relate to the birth and the naming ceremony of a child. That would also constitute a ceremony. And then you also have ceremonies relating to death and funerals. Yes.
Do Kuku people have a specific way of burying their dead?
Yes. In the old days, when burial is, the Kuku people bury their relatives or their dead ones around either the compound or on both sides of the door to the house. Males would be buried on the right side of the door, regardless of where the door is facing. Male will be buried on the right side, and the females would be buried on the left side. On some rare occasions, when a really elderly person dies, like a grandfather, he would be buried in front of the compound. In that kind of situation, the food stores the Kuku keep are called granaries, or gugu in Arabic. A granary or a gugu would be put on top of the grave of this elderly person. This is very rare. It happens in front of the compound. But in most cases, the males would be buried on the right-hand side and the female on the left-hand side. Yes.
Okay, that's really good.
No communal burial grounds.
So every dead person is buried in your compound?
Yeah, in your compound, yes.
That is
That's
really
right.
It's good to know. Let's Let's go to naming ceremonies. You mentioned that some of the festivals being celebrated in the Kuku community or among the Kuku people, it's the naming ceremony. When a child is born in a family, of course, it's an addition to the family and it comes with different joys. What are some of the ways Kuku people welcome a newborn baby?
Yeah, indeed, the birth of a child is a very happy occasion that deserves celebration, and this one also follows some rituals. In most cases, okay, after giving birth, the mother and the child are kept indoors. In the case of a girl child, for 4 days. In the case of a male child, for 3 days. But whatever the case is, the child and the mother are dragged out for naming ceremony after the umbilical cord has fallen off. When that one happens, it's a signal for the mother and the child to be brought out. The mother and the child will be brought out in front and stationed at the gate, or rather at the door of the house. Here now, the wives of the woman's brother-in-laws, you know, a woman would have a husband. The husband has wives.
Yeah.
These wives now would come and preside over the naming function. The Kuku people name their children after their grandparents. A girl would be named after the grandparent, or a boy or grandmother, and a boy after the grandfather. And it goes this way. Privilege of naming a child, first option goes to the father of the child. And the father of the child would of course have two grandfathers, one on either side of his family, two grandmothers. Here, if the firstborn is a boy, the father has the first privilege to name him after his paternal grandfather, the father of his father. That privilege goes to him. If the second born is a girl, following this boy, the name of the grandfather's wife would be given to the girl. It would go like that. The third born, if a boy and the father is a generous person, he will now give the chance to his wife
Yeah, to name.
to also provide a name of one of her grandparents.
Yeah.
Followed by a girl, the same thing follows up. We have exceptions where some fathers are less considerate, I would say greedy. They would provide their grandparents on both sides first, which means the wife would get a chance after the fifth child. Other than this, first privilege to give a name goes to the father of the children, goes to the mother of the children. There are also other options, children after that. The wives of the father's brothers would also be given an option to name the child of her sister-in-law. In this case, that is an honor. She would also give the name of her either grandmother in the case of a child girl child, or grandfather in the case of a boy child. Other exceptional cases also happen. A very close relative, a very close neighbor would also say, okay, this time round, give me the opportunity also to name my grandfather.
Yeah.
I never had the chance through my own marriage to do that. Please allow me to. That one is also
Allowed.
That's also allowed.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
This is really good. You've already given us structure of how the Kuku community do their naming ceremony. What are some of the names in Kuku and their meanings? Maybe 2, 3.
Okay. Most common names for men or for boys in Keji would include Kenyi, Wani, Moga, Lege, and so on. For females, the common names would be Joan, Kiden, Peter, Pony, Modong, Keji, and so on. This would be the most common names.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow, this is really good. Let's move a little bit from naming ceremonies to marriages. This is one of the questions that we get a lot of people asking. Either I'm liking a Kuku girl and I want to marry her, what should I do? Or maybe I am dating a boy from Keji, what will I expect? We want to set the record clear. How do Kuku people do their marriages, conduct their marriage ceremonies?
Okay, indeed this is a very interesting and very pertinent question to set right. The marriage or marriage process in Keji has been evolving over time.
Yeah.
Let me go a little bit some 50 or more years earlier on or back. Two parallel approaches would be followed. One, the most common one would be for the boy and the girl to identify themselves, court each other until they reach a point where they believe that they need to set up a family, man and wife. And then in that case, that's when they will now bring in the parents and introduce their wishes and their desires. That one is the most common one. But there are also some exceptional cases at that time where a father of a boy would identify a girl in a reputable, good family and would, right from the tender age of his child, he would go to the family or to the father of this girl and say, I'm seeing something good coming out of your house. I have a boy, and I would want this one to be cemented in form of marriage so that our families are also linked up together in marriage. That one was also in practice. Also, a father of a girl could approach the father of a boy and say, I have something good coming up. Yes, and I would want to you to have that girl for your boy. Here sometimes when that one happens, the father of the girl has an intention maybe to be supported. He may want, in those days, he may want a goat to solve pressing issues. He may want a hoe. He may want something that will enter into the bride price for the girl. If that one is okay, from time to time the father would become, as the girl grows up and the boys grow up, the prospective father of the girl would be taking things from his in-laws in bits. By the time the marriage comes to be consummated, they would sit down. This man now, the father of the girl, would name his bride price in so many forms. Some would be in form of goats, cows, horse, arrows, iron, and so on. Now, with that kind of list, the ones he had borrowed earlier on, they are noted down. It would be said, okay, I accept to pay and provide all this, minus what you had been taking in advance. These two approaches, the father of the girl approaching the father of the boy, or the father of the boy approaching the father of the girl, are more or less now gone. They are out of date. They are no longer practiced. The present generation will never accept arranged marriages the way I have described. Now, again, in the past, this idea of people having boyfriends and girlfriends used not to exist. There were two approaches to courtship. A boy would identify and admire a girl. There are two ways of asking for the friendship of this girl. Translated crudely, they would speak in Kuku language, of course, but the crude translation is that the boy would ask the girl, that how is the weather at your end? Is it shiny or is it rainy? If the girl is not interested in the boy, they would say it's rainy, it's dark, and it's not good. That ends the story. She's not interested in the boy. If the girl says it is shiny, it means it's bright and so on, it is an invitation for them to chat and talk.
So from the first time they just say it clearly, I'm not interested.
Yes, but you don't say so openly that I'm not interested. You say it is rainy, it's dark, and that's it.
Wow.
So the boy understands that she's not interested in talking with you. But if she says it is shiny, if the weather is good, it's bright, then the boy now can go ahead and chatting continues, the courtship until it may end up in marriage. The other approach also is, in those days, many people used to smoke. And parents of girls that are already of marriageable age would provide tobacco somewhere else. So this tobacco is meant for the girl to entertain a prospective or possible boyfriend. So again, a boy would identify a girl that he admires and wants to get close to. He would ask for tobacco
From the girl?
From the girl. If the girl says there's no tobacco, that's the end of the story. There's no tobacco. I'm afraid I don't have. That's the end of the story. He says, okay, she would literally go in and get a portion of tobacco and give it to the boy.
Yeah.
Whether the boy smokes or what they give to the boy. This one now is an invitation to continue chatting. So, if she's not interested in the boy, she will simply, there's no tobacco, and that ends the story. You don't push it.
Yeah.
If she provides the tobacco, that's the invitation to continue courtship. Whichever approach, if the conversation and the chatting and the courtship of these two young people develops into something that is going to end up as a marriage, that's when now they would, both sides, the girl on her side, the boy on his side, would now inform their parents. Daddy, there's a boy like this who is interested in me, and vice versa. The boy will do the same. That's when the parents, the grown-ups, come in now to investigate the background of this boy, the background of this girl. What they would want to investigate is, one, that these two families are not related in any way in terms of blood.
Yeah.
There's no blood relationship. Two, that the family of my boy you are going to is clean. They don't have a record of being thieves, being wild, being killers, being associated with maybe witchcraft, sorcery. These are the kind of things that the Kuku would not want their children to be entangled with. If it's clear that it is a respected family, it is a well-to-do family, that's when now.
So that research is, okay, they are finding out from both sides.
Yes.
Of
but the parents of the girl would be investigating the background of the boy. The parents of the boy would be investigating the background of the girl in terms of conduct, in terms of reputation, in terms of respectability.
wow.
Like the earlier two cases I mentioned, where a father of the boy would identify a girl for his son, or the father of a girl would identify a husband for the girl. This one, when these two parents take the initiative, they already know that that is no father of a boy would go and identify a girl for his boy in a bad family.
True.
The same thing applies with the father of the girl. That one they already know.
Yeah.
I will simply come and say, my boy, there's a good girl in that place. I want you to get in touch. In those days, it would be, of course, respected. But when it's the two, the boy and the girl identifying themselves, that's when now the parents come in to do background checking.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's important.
Yes.
I think before we finish up that question, let's go for a short break. When we are back, we will continue with the question of marriage. We still want to know more about the process of marriage in Kuku. Thank you. Welcome back from that short break. Before we went for the short break, we were talking about marriages. And we were at the point of knowing family doing the background check on the boy. So we'll continue from there. Uncle, tell us more.
Okay. The courtship progresses to a point where the girl and the boy agree to get married.
Yeah.
And then inform the parents, the background checks are done, and there's nothing wrong to prevent the marriage going forward.
Yeah.
Now, at this stage, the father of the boy, in those days, things used to be done really properly, no shortcuts.
Yeah.
No getting a girl getting pregnant before all these things are done, or whatever it is. Now, the father of the boy would now send a delegation, either one person or a number of people will go now and formally introduce the subject to the parents of the girl. We have this thing that has been going on. My boy has been chatting with your girl, and we have reached a point where we want you to allow us to marry your girl. The background checks have already been done and cleared everything. This one would be done. Now, the issue of the dowry now comes in. The first thing a Kuku or a Keji family would request would be, in some families and some clans, would be a sheep and what we call ewe, a female sheep, and a kid, a small child. This one would now be taken to the family to symbolize that this is the symbol that our girl has gone out. Our girl has left us, and this is the symbol of the girl's departure. That one, in some families, some clans, they would request for a she-goat and a kid. In other clans, a sheep and a kid. That's very, very important. That continues up to today. Other dowry items will now include goats, in most cases not exceeding 10, cows. In many families, this would be something like, in some families, would be 2 cows and a bull. In others, would be 4 cows, especially if the girl belongs to a chief or a chieftaincy family. Would be 4 cows and a bull. In any case, Kuku marriage does not involve cattle or cows exceeding 5. It's either 4 cows and a bull or 2 cows and a bull, something like 10 cows. Then you have things like arrows, bows, spears, iron ore. Yeah, those would be the main things. Iron ore, cooked horse, bows, arrows. Then you have these goats and the cows. Those would be the kind of things given. Up to now, Kuku, dowry payments are named along those things. But now, with the outbreak of money, now some of these things are now translated into cash. But in many cases, they would insist the he-goat and the child, or a sheep with the child, must be taken on hoof, not converted into money. The rest can be converted into money.
Wow.
Now, this, once all these processes are done, this boy, of course, has got his colleagues. They would increase the tempo. The conversation with the girl, they would increase. Kuku courtship normally takes place in the evening, after sunset. In those days, now everything is done on online and so on and so on. But in those days, it is done in the evening, after sunset. Now, and the boy doesn't go to the family or to the house of the girl unless by appointment. When they are still courting themselves, every day for coming to sit together, it will be the boy to come to the house of the girl. And the boy doesn't come unless the girl gives the okay. Like if you sit down, you're allowed to go this evening to the girl's house. Today is the visiting day. This boy would be coming with his colleagues, 4 or 5, or even up to 10. Meanwhile, the girl has gone around the village informing her relatives and friends, the girls are age mates, that the boy is coming today. And the parents, to allow them to chat and so on, will make sure they retire early, say around 7, 8. You know, in the villages, there's no electricity, no other amenities. Darkness is signaled by the setting of the sun, and people go in. Then these were left. You would be chatting and so on. The girl will have somebody who assists her, a go-between. The boy will also have somebody who assists him as a go-between. In many cases, direct talking between the boy and the girl is minimized. If this other girl, the assistant to this girl who carries the messages and the wishes of the girl, to the assistant of the boy, and vice versa. But they don't talk face to face like this and begin expressing their feelings, no. Once the chatting is over, it may go from 7 up to, let's say, 8, 9. The boys would get up, and as they go, the girls would be accompanying them. In the initial stages, you would accompany them maybe for half a kilometer. The other stages maybe even up to a kilometer. They would be chatting and wasting a lot of time along the way. The boys at this stage, would insist that time has come, let us go, finally. And the girls would grow horns and say no. Once that day is done, before you break up, the boy would ask, when can you allow us to come? The girl would name a very far-off date. Say, come after 3 months. The boys say, no. I want to come next week. All sorts of excuses. Please allow us to come next week. You would compromise maybe to come on a date that's maybe 2 weeks away. And it was on that day, that's when you come. No any other meeting, yes. Okay, time comes when this, after chatting during the appointed date, as they keep accompanying these boys, they would go further. Then somewhere towards the boys' villages, then they would simply either grab the girl and the girl is now taken to the boys' home. Everything is known. All the same, when the boys in the village of the girl realize that these girls are not around, the girl doesn't go alone. She will go with her assistant and a number of girls. When that one happens, that's when now the youth will go after their missing girl or their missing girls. They will go violent, wild, and so on, and bring back the girls.
Wow.
In many cases like that. And later on, the girl wants her husband. Maybe after a day or two, she will just run back, and then we could just say, okay, let's leave it as this. If there are any, at this stage, if there are any unsettled dowry items, that's when now the elders will come in so that they're unfinished. You can never finish the demands for dowry, the items I mentioned earlier on. At a go, you can't. And it's not expected that all these things should be paid at a go. It's taken in bits. If the family of the girl wants 15 horse, you don't give all that. At the most, you give it 3, 2, 5, up to the time even when this girl becomes a mother and an old woman, you will find that the 15 horse that are supposed to be given, maybe even when she's already a grandma, maybe 2 or 3 are not yet settled out of the original 15. It's done in that kind of manner. But the family is already one. Yeah.
Wow. This is really, really, really a good one to know. Marriage doesn't finish in one day, like you say.
No.
Yeah, it takes time. Okay. I think we will leave it there. I think I am okay. I'm satisfied. But let's talk about marriage now. Do you see a big difference between that one and this one?
Yes. It's a big difference. One, the initiation of courtship has completely changed, as I told you earlier on. It is now the .com age. People begin to identify themselves in schools, colleges, or wherever it is. They get in touch. It's now one-to-one, one-on-one.
Yeah.
The boy and the girl. No go in betweens. No whatever it is. Sometimes even no background checks. In typical Kajo Keji, in those days when the communities were rather wild and so on, parents prefer that their children are married within either the village itself, if they are different clans, or the neighboring villages. Nobody would want his girl to be married 10 miles away to an unknown family background. They will not prefer that. That is within Kajo Keji. People in southern part of Kajo Keji would consider it very unfortunate for their girl to go deep into the interior of Kajo Keji, go to the northern part, the western part, and so on. That would be, it's allowed but very unfortunate. Crossing tribal lines would be also very rare. It happens, but very rare. Yeah. So marriages are normally conducted within known families, within short distances of each other. Now, you find somebody from the southern part of Kajo Keji marrying somebody in the northern part of South Sudan, the eastern part of South Sudan, or even married to Hawajat in Europe and so on. That one is completely beyond the control of the parents. That's what goes along with freedom. So the whole thing has changed in terms of approach. The whole thing has changed in terms of distances between the two families. And in terms of dowry payment, the Kuku people are already affected with particularly culture that is learned from Sudan and Juba here. The kind of things that are being demanded are completely outrageous in terms of the amounts being mentioned, or they are not even included. I mentioned the typical dowry items that the Kuku people would demand. Now, in Juba, marriages of Kuku people, between even Kuku in Juba, have undergone a lot of additions. When the parents of the girl are going to the house of the boy, they will create what is popularly known as barriers or custom or jumro. As you enter into the compound of the boy, girls and mothers-in-law demand that the incoming in-laws pay money. And the amount of money being requested is beyond consideration. To enter the compound of the boy, of the bridegroom, people will ask it in terms of millions.
Yeah.
This is just to go to the girls on the wife's side. Then you have to contend with the mothers-in-law, requested in millions. Once they go in, the mothers-in-law will refuse to sit down. And then money has been produced for them to sit down. These kind of things are completely outside the Kuku culture and the Kuku practices. So much so that to conduct marriage the way I had described earlier on is done with the consent in an honorable manner without breaking the law. It happens, breaking the law takes place and so on. But when the boy and the girl want to follow the proper way, it seems the parents of the girl and the relatives of the girl make things so difficult, so impossible, that it looks as if they are encouraging illegal elopement, illegal activities, so that the girl gets pregnant or conceived before actual marriage. It happens every time a marriage of this kind takes place. The demands and the claims are extremely exorbitant. This is one aspect. They would also now, one would notice things that used not to be there. The parents have come, the parents of the boy have come to the house to introduce themselves. Thereafter, they would ask for something like, either they would say, show yourself if you are interested. We have accepted you, show yourself. And then you provide whatever you have. And the boys, the young guys, boys around the girl would just hurl insults, that's nothing, and whatnot. At least make it 5 million or whatever it is. Or they would say, okay, provide guarantee that you have not come to deceive us, you are serious. In the local name in Juba is called Daman or Damana. Provide Damana. What is the Damana? I have already come, we have already introduced, we are interested. Provide that kind of thing. Yeah. The current generation do not understand the meaning of these things, so they have copied it to Kajo. This one encourages unacceptable or illegal activities. Now, if this one happens, the girl gets conceived or eloped. When marriage is conducted the way I described earlier on, people come and they sit down and they chat. That one they say, you are coming through the right door, the right channel. But when shortcuts are taken, they say you have broken somebody's compound. Yeah. Then they would ask for something called kasurubet. This one also would go, this was used not to happen because there was nothing called kasurubet in those days. It's not there. These have now been introduced into this system. I just regret that the parents of the girls, encouraged by the young men around them, make it extremely difficult for a young man and a young woman to get married these days because of the demands. It's as if they are saying, don't follow the right channel. And when they take shortcuts and the girl is discovered pregnant or eloped, that way it is like something that is already done. They will get something little. So it's in a way also appealing that the parents of girls, together with the brothers of the girls, should not copy things that are not sanctioned, that are not part of the dowry payment in the Kuku culture. Yes. Wow. Because it's completely changed the dowry payment system.
Well, as the chairman of the Kuku community worldwide, what are some of the steps that have been taken? Because okay, we've talked to community leaders from Mundari, and so far the Mundari community are having negotiation around reduction of their cattle. What are some of the measures, or what are some of the things that the Kuku elders have taken towards that?
So far, the Kuku elders have only been talking, have only been expressing regret and frustration towards these unreasonable demands. But they have not taken concrete steps like sitting down to reduce. The reason why they have not taken concrete steps is that if the Kuku marriage is conducted the way it should be properly, the Kuku demands are not very heavy, like I told you. Anybody can afford.
No.
2 cows and a bull, or 4 cows and a bull, and then a few other things. If it is conducted like that, the way it was done in the past, there should really be no reason. But it's now the way the parents of the girl, encouraged by the brothers of the girl, inflating. Any arrow that used to cost less than £1 is now valued at 100,000. Can you imagine this thing? A bull that used to be priced at 50,000 is now made $500,000 in our SSP currency. That one is extremely frustrating. That will require the Kuku people, Keji people, maybe to sit down like the Mundare, like other people have taken steps. But in reality, the Kuku dowry demands are very reasonable if we stick to the original arrangement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really good. Before we go to the last question, is there a specific meaning to Jonginaling? Because whenever you say, I'm from Kuku, and people just say, oh, you are Jonginaling, is there another name for Kuku girls, or what inspired that name?
Okay. Earlier on, I mentioned here that Kuku marriages used to follow clearly defined procedures. Either the father of the boy identifying a girl, father of the girl identifying a boy, or a boy asking for tobacco from the girl, or asking the weather conditions from a girl. And there that sets conversation.
Yeah.
And once, if the marriage courtship is initiated by the girl and the boy, they reach a point where they believe that they can form a family, then they would inform their respective parents. They come and do background checks, and thereafter everything is done transparently in broad daylight. Here, there is no chance of a mistake. So in those days, there's nothing called Jonginanto or Jonginanling. There's nothing like that. Somewhere, I think in the 50s, 60s, and so on, they used to take maybe a boy would be stubborn and so on, would entice his girl friend to go to his home and whatever it is, and there they would perform sex. No Kuku girl, after being touched by a boy, would now the boy would simply say, okay, we have finished, you go your home, I'm going my home. No. Once you have done that, and she would only submit to that kind of thing after the boy has made promises and so on and so on. Once that thing has happened, and the boy says, you can now go home, we meet next time, the girl would say, no, take me along. Actually, it's called like that. Who will now be interested in me? Who will go and find me to be broken and not a virgin? It's unthinkable. So the girl would say, now that you have persuaded me, you have coached me, you have pushed me into doing this thing, take me along. Jonginanto, actually, it's like that. It's not Jonginanling.
Okay.
Jonginanto.
That's clear. Yes.
If the boy accepts or doesn't accept, the girl will follow and just report to the house of the boy.
Wow.
Oh, my child, why have you come here? Then you ask your boy what he has done to me. So declare it. So now, of course, it's no longer the case. people do all sorts of things, resulting in unplanned pregnancies and so on and so on. So this one used to be with the Kuku people. Of course, it's no longer the case. People do all sorts of things and so on. But that's it. That the Kuku people, the Kuku girls used to be the most difficult to access because they want to stick to the original arrangement. And if the boy is so tough that he persuades the girl to have sex with him, the girl will not go home anymore. She will not go home anymore. She will just go even if she will surrender herself to the family of this boy.
Wow.
That is Jongin and To, Jongin and Ling, that's how it is.
I think this is a really good culture that should be kept up to today because this is the biblical way of getting married. Let's go to our final questions about traditional dances. What are some of the traditional dances in Kuku community and what are the occasions that the dances are performed?
Okay, there are 4 main dancing styles in Kajo Keji. 4 main dancing styles in Kajo Keji. There's one called Tibidi. That is mainly performed by Ngepo Payam, by the Ngepo people. It's a very nice dance. And the beating of the drum, the dancing, and so on and so on. Then we have Bola. That's performed in the other 4 Payams of Lire, Kangapo 1, Kangapo 2, and Liwolo. There is what we call Murie, copied from the neighboring Madi. That's also performed by Kangapo 1, Kangapo 2, Lire, and Liwolo. These are Bola, Murie, and Kore are also performed in Kangapo 1, Kangapo 2, Lire, and Liwolo. 4, Bola, Kore, Murie, performed in the other Payams, and then Tibidi in Ngepo Payam. Of lately, since the introduction, the coming in of Christianity, you know, the Kuku people took Christianity very seriously, especially the Anglican part, now known as ECS. They took it very seriously. And then within within Christianity itself, a branch of what we can call die-hard or really committed faithful, they call themselves born again or revival. They have introduced a kind of a dance that is completely different from the 4. They believe that the other 4 types of dancing are not holy, or they contain elements of romanticism, which they do not want to encourage at all. So they have introduced their own way of dancing, church-oriented. But the main Kuku traditional dances are Murie, Kore, Bola, and Tibidi. In most cases, for Murie, the men would, in those days, they would prefer to adorn or wrap around themselves leopard skins, monkey skins, and so on. The girls would adorn a lot of beads around their waist, their neck, their arms. For the Murie also, the men would tie around their legs some jingles. We call them biria. They would also adorn around their legs. For the girls would also prefer to wear short dress called tonura. That is now going because it's good for jumping around. The Murie is normally danced around both men and women. You go around the drum. You go around the drum. For the Kore, you jump up the way you see the Bari doing here, with the arms raised. You jump as high as possible. That is Murie. Kore. Bola would be, people are in cycles. the songs would also correspond to the kind of the occasion. Kore and Bola are not performed, are not done during funerals. Yeah. Murie is done during funerals. Or in the long ago days when a brave man has killed a big animal, like a lion, like a leopard, Murie would be done. Or during funerals. And the songs sung, in the case of a brave man having killed an elephant, the songs would be in terms of praising the bravery of this guy. In the case of funerals, it would be funeral songs, lamenting the loss, wailing the loss. The songs would be emotionally moving. That could make people shed tears and so on and so on. Kore is purely for pleasure. Kore and Bola are purely for pleasure. Among the Ngepo people, the dance is one. It is TBD, but then the songs now would reflect: is the TBD done on celebratory occasions, or is it in terms of funerals? If people are mourning, the songs will reflect that kind of situation. If they are in the celebratory mood, the songs will also reflect that kind of situation.
Wow. This is really, really great information to know. We have come to the end, but we cannot leave you to go without your final message. What is your message to the Kuku people all over the world regarding our culture and also our education? Because the research has shown that Kuku people are most learned. But now, if you see, we are kind of falling back. What is your message to the Kuku people all over the world?
The Kuku people are basically good. They learn quickly, they embrace new ideas quickly, and they are quite open to modern civilization. I would, however, encourage them not to deviate so much away from their traditions as far as marriages and the naming ceremonies are concerned. These are practices, cultural practices and traits that have been tested by time, and they are basically good. Those abroad, please do your best to introduce your children to the Kuku culture. I regret to note that even in Juba or Uganda or elsewhere, young Kuku couples, right from the age of 6 months, they introduce their children to English. Even in Juba here, you go to any young Kuku married families, the child is taught English. No Kuku, no Arabic, no nothing. They think the other languages are inferior. You have this song sung by the other musician some time ago. When a Kuku is in Buganda land and a Kuku speaks to a Kuku in Kuku, he will say Semanyi. Semanyi means I don't know. What is he talking about? When you are in the Madi land, a Kuku would want to talk to a Kuku person in Madi land and say Maniku, I don't know. This one, I think, has to change. This has to change. Learn and teach your children the language where you find yourself in, but please don't forget your language. Yes.
Wow, that's really a good message to everybody, and I'm sure everyone has gotten that one very well. Thank you for taking time to come and sit with us and to answer some of the questions that we received from our viewers. We are so delighted and excited, and we're looking forward to see the positive feedback in the community through this interview. Thank you so much. We have come to the end of our today's program. We will be seeing you next week at the same time here with a different community leader from a different tribe. Thank you so much. I've been your host. My name is Jennifer Jopute. Thank you for staying around.